Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's show with Practical CBT, quick practical workouts for your mental health. Today, I have got your daily Celtic news roundup. We are into the second international break of the season, so I'll just tell you what's happening with our international stars, who is away from the club during this break, who is remaining at Lennoxtown. Oh, and we also had the highly anticipated meeting last night. So are we ushering in a bright new Celtic dawn this morning? No, we're not. Just a very quick shout out before we get started. We are very close to 18,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I think last month 45% of you watching the channel weren't even subscribed. So, you know, it's incredibly easy. It really is. It takes 2 seconds out of your day. You just have to click a button. Doesn't cost you a penny, cent, dime. Just do it and we'll get to 18k. Thanks very much now. Right, let's kick off with no doubt the main reason for you clicking on this video. Last night, a meeting took place between members of the Celtic board and several fan organisations. Just for a quick overview of like who was present at this meeting. So the Celtic Fans Collective, which just in case you're not aware, is like a newly created fan body that basically kind of all-encompassing body looking for change at Celtic and looking for the betterment of Celtic amid what we're going through at the moment. They didn't actually receive a direct invite to the meeting. The meeting was sent to like traditional organisations such as Celtic Supporters Association, Celtic Trust, Green Brigade, etc. However, the collective then did have discussions with the club and managed to secure 3 representatives for last night's meeting. This is fascinating stuff, but just very quickly, the makeup of the meeting, because I think 4 organisations also gave up one of their 2 spots to the collective. So last night there would have been 7 Celtic Fans Collective representatives, 2 from other outlets such as the Association of Irish Celtic Supporters Clubs, Celtic Disabled Supporters Association, and 1 from Boys Celtic, Celtic Trust, Green Brigade and North Curve Celtic. The North of Ireland Celtic Supporters Club also would have had 2 there. They are the only organisation there who are not a member of the collective other than Celtic themselves. And in terms of Celtic, I know Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay were both said to have been there. I've not actually had that confirmed, but I think there would have been a bit of uproar had they not been there, given that that was promised. So that's who was there. The question you're wondering is, how did it go? Well, from what has kind of been coming out of the meeting, maybe not amazingly in terms of actual progress. I should just say very clearly that there has been no official word from the collective at the point of me recording. That may come out during the day at some point today on Tuesday. The collective did say they'd provide an update as quickly as possible following the meeting. Believe they took minutes, the club themselves took their own minutes, and I think the minutes are agreed on basically, and then something is released. That's pretty standard procedure for these kind of things, I am led to believe. So we should get something pretty soon, and at that stage I will bring you a full rundown. I mean, kind of really properly get into the nuts and bolts of what went down at last night's meeting. However, and there's a fair chance you've heard this, there have been some murmurings, and to be honest, more than that, coming from last night's meeting, from maybe a person or people who were at the meeting last night, and it's not particularly positive. There was a message going around that was marked #confidential that clearly hasn't remained confidential, so it's out there. I won't read the full message out, but the upshot here is that the meeting lasted around 2.5 hours and delivered very little. The Celtic board did a lot of not accepting. According to the message, they don't accept that the club is not moving forwards. There's a double negative for you. They don't accept that the windows in recent years have been a failure. They don't accept that the way we do our transfer business needs to be overhauled. They don't accept that the club lacks ambition. They don't accept that we only spend enough money to win in Scotland. And they don't accept that there is a disconnect between the board and the manager. So it does seem like Celtic were in full denial, Jason denial, nothing to see here mode during this meeting last night. And I guess that would kind of line up with that hashed statement that we got on a Saturday night around a month ago. Not much accountability there, probably a fair amount of excuses brought out. Just a couple other wee bits that came out from the meeting. The club has no intention of launching an investigation into the leak to the Scottish Sun about Brendan Rodgers, that article. Apparently, they asked every member of the board, and every member of the board said it wasn't me. So a very thorough investigation there from the club. However, the club did accept that fan engagement and communication could be improved, and they say they're looking into that. I very much hope they were pushed and asked, exactly what are you doing here? Because it's one thing saying something, Celtic, like, we absolutely don't take the fans for granted. You are an important part of the club and behaving in a very different way. But yeah, overall, doesn't seem like there was a great amount of accountability taken from anyone in a senior position at the club. And you have to kind of question why the meeting was called if all we were going to get was the same old rhetoric from the board. Perhaps the reason the meeting was called, putting my I'm looking for my cynical hat here, I don't know where it is, but maybe, just maybe, it's because of a fall in fan revenue at the club. Like, I've heard from a few different people that merchandise sales were way down in September. You may have heard that the club opened a brand new Celtic store in the city centre of Glasgow, twice the size of the former one that it's replacing. And I know that our correspondent on the ground, Stevie, was walking past there on Saturday and said that it was incredibly quiet, and that's a new store on a Saturday. So maybe that's a concern for the club, when they've no doubt spent a hell of a lot of money on this shiny new store on Queen Street. Ticket sales, I think, are struggling at the moment. I don't believe Sunday's game against Motherwell sold out, which I think is one of the first time in a long time that a weekend league match hasn't sold out at Celtic Park. I know the club were hurriedly trying to punt tickets on Saturday morning, really sending loads of tweets out and spamming various social media feeds. So they're clearly a little bit concerned about that. The Europa League sales haven't been amazing. There were a lot of empty seats at the Braga game. I guess we'll see for the Sturm Graz game that's on at a better kickoff time exactly what the damage is there. But yeah, I think the bottom line is all of this is having an effect on the club, and they'll be concerned about that because they care about the finances. And that, as I say, cynically, you could view as being the reason that they've called this meeting last night. But their approach to the meeting and their lack of accountability is highly unlikely to have made things any better. In fact, it's probably just kind of strengthened the feeling amongst the Celtic support that we need change at the club. And yeah, the club unwilling to make changes or even admit that they've made mistakes. That is kind of the mentality, I think, at Celtic. And we got it just in glorious technicolor when they posted that statement a month ago. It was a horrendous statement, but it was a fascinating insight, I think, into how they think at the club and how they apportion blame and how they don't really ever look inward. It's all just blaming other factors and making wee digs at Rangers. I wonder if there was any of them at the meeting last night. I'm interested to see if we'll find out about that. I guess, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward now. We're obviously in an international break. The collective have a little bit of time to think and plan their next steps. I know there's another meeting a week on Thursday the 16th of October. So I'm sure there'll be stuff coming out of that. They did, the collective did send out a thing last week that basically said there'd been broad agreement to avoid disruptive actions for Dens Park, the game that we come back to, and, you know, really get behind the team. And I think that's good. I think the team needs our support, but also it's going to be interesting to, you know, learn if last night's meeting has changed that at all, and how, you know, members of the collective and the various other organisations that were at the meeting last night, how they felt coming away from that meeting and how they feel now about what should happen. So yeah, as I say, I'm going to say we could cover this more in depth tomorrow, hopefully when the proper minutes are released, but I have just spent well over 10 minutes discussing it today, so hopefully there's still some stuff to go over tomorrow. Maybe you can let me know what you think and I can get in some of your comments this time tomorrow. Just in terms of the on-pitch stuff, before I head off, we are now into the second international break of the season, with our players once again departing around the world. Just a quick rundown of who is away and who isn't away, split into 3 groups. So, called up for their countries during this international break are Kasper Schmeichel with Denmark, Vil Sinizalo with Finland, Liam Scales with Ireland, Cameron Carter-Vickers with the USA, Benji Nygren with Sweden, Sebastian Tinekti with Tunisia, Marcelo Sarace is away with Uruguay, Daizen Maeda away with Japan, Anthony Ralston and Kieran Tierney with Scotland, and Colby Donovan with Scotland's under-21s. Not called up for their countries. Alistair Johnson, obviously still coming back from injury. Hopefully he's going to play a part against Dundee. Austin Trusty not called up by the US. Michel Ange-Belikwisha not in the DR Congo squad. Not quite sure what's going on there because he declared for Congo and hasn't been in either of their last 2 squads since he declared. So I don't know if he's kind of already regretting that decision, or maybe if he starts to perform a bit better for Celtic, then he will be called up. Hyunjin Yang not called up for South Korea. Kelechi Iheanacho not called up for Nigeria, but they do have a fair amount of firepower up top. Johnny Kenny was away with Ireland last break. He's not been called up by them this time. Arnie Engels not called up by Belgium, and Reo Hatate not away with Japan. And just the final category, which is kind of players who have never been capped by their countries or have retired in Callum McGregor's case. And I guess James Forrest for some reason is part of this as well. Also at Lennoxtown, Jemai Simpson-Pusey, Jota, kinda, Luke McCowan, Shin Yamada, Callum Osmond, Hayato Inamura, Paulo Bernardo, Ross Doohan, Callum McGregor, Dane Murray, and James Forrest. So I think it's effectively a 30-man squad that we've got at the moment. That's like including a lot of players who are very clearly out the picture, like Hayato Inamura, Shin Yamada, Jemai Simpson-Pusey, Callum Osmond. But in terms of you kind of got the whole squad together, everyone was fit, you'd be looking at 30 players, and we've got 11 of them away in international duty. So there's still a healthy amount that are going to be left at Lennoxtown. For those who go away, I don't know how many of them will actually play a lot of minutes for their country. It's been a bit of a theme of recent international breaks that a lot of our players at the moment, even if they do get called up, don't tend to actually play a lot. See Benji Nygren and Sebastian Tinekti and Cameron Carter-Vickers and Vil Sinizalo. And yeah, we've got a number of players not away as well for various reasons. Obviously with some of them there's injuries there, like Alistair Johnson. Austin Trusty has been injured, but there's also a lot of players who are just not playing well enough at the moment. Arnie Engels, I mean, he can't have any complaints. He's not away with Belgium. Reo Hatate with Japan. So yeah, hopefully, as always, with the players going away, they can, first of all, come through injury-free. If they can play well, that would be great as well, get a bit of confidence going. And we can hopefully really attack things when we come back. We've got, I think I said yesterday, 8 fixtures in the next block before the final international break of the calendar year, and some really big games in there as well. Europa League, Cup semi against Rangers, Hearts at Tynecastle. So yeah, enjoy the rest because it's going to be frantic when we come back. I'm going to head off for now, everyone.